Alecko, talk a little bit about, so you've been involved in a few championship games of your own. What kind of advice do you give to the team, and what are some of the things that you talk to selectively to some of the players maybe that will have key roles in the game?
Yeah, I mean, there's different things you tell different guys, but essentially, the work has been done for the most part. It's not like you're going to make somebody a better player from now until tomorrow. At this stage, it's just mental in terms of being prepared, knowing your opponent, knowing yourself, and having fun. These are moments that you have to enjoy as a pro, because you never know when they're going to come again. There's guys who are phenomenal players who've never even made it to a championship game, so there's no guarantee that you'll ever get to this stage in your career. So the most important thing is just to seize the moment and to be yourself, but to trust in all the work that you put in prior to getting to this point. And you never know, sometimes there's unlikely heroes that can step up, so everyone has to be ready. Whether it's the top guy to a guy that maybe hasn't played much of all this season at any point, each one of those guys has to be ready to make an impact.
Alecko, let's talk a little bit. So what's the difference between being a player and mentally preparing, and now you just said, you give different guys different pieces of advice to kind of, motivate them or get them thinking. How do you see yourself as, obviously a central player in a championship team as opposed to now being a coach? Talk a little bit about the differences of how you apply that.
Very different. I was just talking about it today with one of my other friends who's a former player who's now coaching. And he made the remark to me like, man, it was so much easier to play instead of coach in big games. But I don't know. I think it's just way more mentally draining to be a coach. But it's essentially a giant chess match, so you try to play. It's not too different for me anyway than being a player, in that you try to play the game in your head before you actually step on the field. Mm-hmm. You have to do a lot more homework as a coach, whereas as a player, okay, I'm forward, I want to see what the back four of the other team is doing, and I know early what I'm going to do, I know my strengths and weaknesses, and you just go out there and have fun. But as a coach, you have to see the whole big picture, everything that goes into it, and be prepared for all these different situations and all that. So it's a lot more mental preparation.
So, Gio, obviously the excitement's building. I'm sure it's a little nerve-wracking. Talk a little bit about the journey of this year. This is there's lots of pressure we talked about early in the year, and now you've come through and 10-11 game unbeaten streak, and you've done a tremendous job coaching. Talk a little bit about this year and your experience.
First of all, we started last year with a good plan put in paper, a good idea what we wanted to build, and with the fortune enough to have a strong name in our favor. So things definitely are easier when you have this name and when you want to build something special. We had the fortune to be able to convince a tremendous player, our captain, Carlos Mendez, who was the first, we'll call him pioneer, because, to sign in a club that doesn't exist yet, just trusting, the CEO and the coach, it's not something easy. Maybe Carlos is a visionary. He still had the possibility to stay in Major League Soccer, but he decided to go back home and be fundamental in building up this club. From that point, we started to bring players that specifically went with the idea of soccer that we wanted to play, which was a style of soccer that people that came to the stadium can enjoy while they watch. A team that is very comfortable with the ball, a team that can pressure high and that will work together. And we started pre-season. We had difficulties at the beginning to train because we needed to build the field, so we were in all the stages. But when we traveled to England, it's like everything clicked. At that moment, we knew that we had a special group. We knew that we had a group that was willing to work together and go the same direction, and we took it 1 week at a time. Let's focus, every single weekend on what we need to do. Let's try to make sure that we come as prepared as possible. Let's use the players that we need to use, for this particular game. And then, week to week we accumulate, and hopefully it's going to be good enough for us to be able to be the champions. And the guys, respected what we were representing, and they gave 100% to the club.
Related to that question, for all the talk of talent and budgets and playing a half season, you still played a 14-game season and only lost one game. tactically and technically, what accounts for that against teams that have been playing a full season before that to come in and beat them? I mean, what do you attribute that to from a tactical and technical?
I think different things. I think it starts with a good ownership that backs you up and provides a good platform, strong platform to create a good base. Second is making sure that we selected the right type of players with the right mentality to be able to be part of it. And ultimately, it's just work, constantly, every day, from the morning to the night, and making sure that everybody, was pushing together, and that was the difference. That at the end, helped us out to be able to be where we are. Yeah, I think just it's the work, it's I'm lucky to have a great group of players, great technical staff, and then, every morning we said it, it's work, let's go there, let's make sure that we do what we need to do. We're fortunate enough to find, players that, like Roversio, like Marco Sena, like Carlos Freeman, and other players, and there were some other young players like Sebastian and others that were able to step to the plate and do the job, and I think we are very content where we are right now, and all is attributed to the fact that the guys are very united, and believe in what we're trying to do.
You played in another high-profile final back in 1995, which is slowly but surely becoming a legendary team, if it isn't already. So you won that match. What do you take from that game that you could bring to this team, and you could talk about, maybe not talk about that game to the team, but your experiences in preparation?
First of all, this team has created something that has been very important, that is a habit to win. And this is very, very important. In our minds, we have no thoughts about losing this game. We're going to step in the field and make sure that, as I said to them, we don't deserve the win, but make sure that to make it happen. And that's the mentality of the players. One of the things also that I think is fundamental is that they have no pressure. They come in, they're going to enjoy the game. They work hard and they deserve to be there. And at the end, when they step in the field, it's going to be a celebration for them for what what they've done so far. And with that, with the fun that they're going to have, I'm sure that they're going to do very well tomorrow.
And with the Cosmos success this year during the fall season is raising the bar in the league. How much do you think winning the championship will raise the bar for other teams in the league?
I think so. I think it is raising already the bar, as you mentioned. Just by us being part, there's more awareness of the league, there's more awareness of the team, there's more awareness of, president wanting to invest more to be more competitive. We have ESPN3, ESPN Deportes live in our final, which it didn't happen before. I think there's many things that are changing in the positive for the league, and all not only because of the Cosmos, but I think it's because of soccer, the way it's growing in the United States. And I think some of the good teams that are going to come in the future to be part of this league also have good ownership. They're good places to play, and I'm sure are going to make this league even more competitive. At the end, it's going to help. The more the NASL grows, the more the MLS is going to grow. At the end, it's going to be good for soccer.
Good for you. Gio, take us just for a moment into sort of the locker room to tomorrow afternoon. In your mind, what are the things that you need to tell your team and your players in order to have a successful outcome, in order to win this now?
What I have said all along to them, just making sure that when we step in the field, we completely dominate every aspect of the game. That we have the ball, we need to make sure that we are the team that controls the ball, that we keep the possession. When we're losing, we have to be very active, to pressure and win it back. We need to make sure that we win every header, that we are first to every ball, that we are communicating, that we are doing all the intangibles, the little things that at the end will become the big things to win championships.